Hello, my name is Marcus Clausen, and if you're already subscribed to my YouTube channel, you might know that I have a degree in piano performance. But before that, I built houses for 6 years, and I always wondered which was harder, playing piano or building houses, because I could lift a lot of heavy weights and do some complex things, but playing piano looked like a lot of using just the fingers and arms to do really incredible things. And I had had piano lessons starting when I was 12, and I had them for 4 or 5 years, so I could play a piece about as difficult as the WC Arabesque number 1. But then I couldn't play anything harder than that till I decided to start college and study with a teacher. Even so, my technique didn't quite keep up to the repertoire I was playing, and I developed some serious tendonitis that I had to overcome, and I thought it would be useful to talk about that because injury is something that a lot of musicians deal with, and my personal journey worked for me, but for everyone it could be a little different. I think, though, I have some things that could help anyone that has injury from tendonitis, playing-related injuries rather. When I started college, I was 23, and so I was older than most of the rest of the students in my year, and they admired the fact that I could build houses. To them, that was foreign and something incredible and something that they couldn't do, but to me, their playing level was incredible because although they were younger than I was, a good number of them were technically more advanced. And so I always struggled because I was just starting to learn technique at age 23, which is kind of late, and I wouldn't have done it except for a teacher that was pushing me to. And I did surprise myself by doing astonishing things. I ended up playing a complete senior recital with an hour long, some difficult pieces. But I had to fight through some tendonitis and injury, so I want to just talk about a few things that helped that. One of them was seeing a physiotherapist on campus who dealt mostly with athletic students, but some with music students. And he discovered that the flexor muscle under my forearm was incredibly tight. And so he had me do this kind of exercise, squeezing down and relaxing 10 times a day. I started modifying it, and then I would squeeze back and then let go. I discovered that when I let go, the flexor muscle down here didn't want to let go as soon as the fingers did. It took a little longer, and that meant that I was losing some time whenever I had a passage that had fast repeated notes, because it was just staying tight all the time. Then another part of it was pulling back and then down. And again, I found it best to pull back and then completely release. Another one was actually done with a rubber band, and it was a twisting this way, right, and then twisting left, and then using a towel and twisting it like that and twisting it back and forth. That I felt had mixed results. I really started making progress when I saw a massage therapist. I had 2 appointments, and well, I was at the place where I couldn't practice much. I could maybe practice an hour a day, and I needed to be doing 3 hours at least. And some days I didn't practice at all because it was just too painful. Even driving home the steering wheel was so painful that I sometimes would use my knees to drive because I couldn't do it. After I had an appointment with the massage therapist, he was quite aggressive in dealing with muscles that had problems, and I just started getting some mobility back. And I also went to some techniques that I had learned in piano pedagogy class, which I had to take as a piano performance major. And there were 3 injury preventative techniques by 3 different people that I've used. The one is by Paul Worth, and it's called the gravity-based technique. And I'm not being paid by him to talk about this or by any of them to talk about it, but I'm just going to reference it. Basically, gravity-based technique is using the weight of gravity to allow your hand to fall into the key bed while your fingers maintain a natural curve, an arch. They just stay put. And one way to do that is to hold your arm or have someone else hold it and then drop it down and keep your fingers firm. So I would go through my pieces one note at a time and just drop in with the full weight. And that started to overcome some of the compensating I was doing using my upper body. And now Barbara Lister-Sink talks about this a lot, and she has what she calls the Lister-Sink method of injury preventative technique. And one of the important points she brings out is that the biceps play a very little role in piano. And in some of us that are beginners or overeager, we start muscling with the bicep. But even before you even play a key, when you bring your hands up, there should be almost no bicep engagement. The hands just go up into the keyboard. And I discovered right there I was already having trouble because I was engaging with the whole upper body in a way that was not useful. Another part of the previous method, the gravity-based method by Paul Wirth, is using a wrist thrust. So for an octave, I just put my fingers on and use my wrist to thrust the fingers into the key bed. And that's helping gravity, obviously, but it's if you explore his method, it's very complex. That works well with chords too. So if I play a 4-note chord, I'm just thrusting my wrist down, again, keeping my fingers firm. Now, if you want to play a sustained chord, you can thrust down and then hold, which is how you should play them. And Barbara Lister-Sink points out that once you're down there, you should find out how much weight it takes to keep the key down and use only that much weight so that arm picks up some of the weight after you play. And then you can see how much weight it takes just to keep the keys down. It would be tiring if you played with your full weight down the whole time. But I started doing this stuff with all my pieces, taking them really slow and sometimes fast, just not doing too much of any one thing, because people will tell you to do one thing or do another and it'll fix everything, but it doesn't. It's just a little of this and a little of that, and for every different individual it's going to be a different combination. The one other musician that I borrowed from was Seymour Fink, and he has a DVD called Piano Technique, and he approaches it slightly differently, but one of the useful things that he had was playing chords that are mirrored. So I start with both my thumbs on D, the right finger 3 on F sharp, and right finger 5 on B flat, left hand thumb on D, finger 3 on B flat, finger 5 on F sharp. And then you just move a half step out with each finger. I went wrong. And as you slowly move down, you allow your hand and fingers to just shape to the chord. You never try to manage the shape of your hand too much. You just allow your hand to go into the key bed. And that brings me to another point. I was talking to my brother about the serious trouble I was having, and he suggested that my hand was too much like this. And he said, when Lang Lang plays, Lang Lang has sort of like claw fingers, maybe. And I sort of resisted that concept, partly because I am not a devoted follower of Lang Lang, and partly because I was taught that a arch hand is the best. But I tried it, and I discovered that I got a stretch while I was playing that I really needed and was missing out on. And over time, I think I'm going to go slightly less, but right now it's working, and so I'm using a bit of a claw shape. One other thing that I discovered, I was watching a video by a professor of piano. who was reviewing some of the greatest pianists of our time, and he showed a video of Sumi Jo playing, talked about how she uses the pads of her fingers, and that was interesting to me. Again, I was going for a real true arch, and so when I played a piece like Scarlatti's Sonata in B minor, I would play it with an arch like so. Well, I decided to try playing more on the pads of my fingers, and it really worked. Just thinking about the tips of my fingers having that bit of flex gave me some control and relaxation as I was playing, so it was more like this. So those are a couple of things that I've learned so far that have helped me. Also, I do some strange things like I'll stand up to see what's going on just with my body and how it interacts with my hands and wrists, and so I'll play a piece from standing up like this. It's Scriabin's Etude in B minor, one of two that he wrote. So then after that, I'll slouch down and reach around the keyboard like this. And it gives me a bit of a sense of what's going on in my hands and how the weight distribution might be wrong, and how I could change things. And so incorporating a lot of movement with practicing seems to help. Anyway, that's all for now. I may put out a few more things later. We will see. Bye for now.